Okay, so today's power up features solving a quadratic equation using two different methods. The first is going to be using the quadratic formula. So we're going to start with 2x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0. And we're going to, in order to solve this, we're going to use the quadratic formula, which states that x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All over 2a. Okay? And remember that the standard form of quadratic equation is ax squared minus bx. No, it's not. It's ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And that means that our a is equal to 2, our b is in this case is equal to negative 1, because it is plus bx and we have a minus x there, so that means that the minus goes with the coefficient, and our c is equal to negative 6. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to plug a in, 2 in for a, negative 1 in for b, and negative 6 in for c into this equation right here. And we're going to do that in the color green because I love green. So I've got x is equal to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 6 all over 2 times 2. Great. So that means that it's going to be positive 1 plus or minus the square root of, well, a negative 1 times a negative 1 is going to be also a positive 1. And then we've got minus 8 times negative 6 all over 4. And that's going to be 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus. Now, negative 8 times negative 6 is positive 48. So 1 plus 48 over 4, which is going to give us 1 plus or minus the square root of 49 over 4, which is then going to give us that x is equal to 1 plus or minus. Anyone know what the square root of 49 is? That's right, 7. 1 plus or minus 7 over 4. Now, this gets split into two separate equations. X is equal to 1 plus 7 over 4, and x is equal to 1 minus 7 over 4. That's what the magic plus or minus means. 1 plus 7 is 8, so x is equal to 8 over 4. 1 minus 7 is negative 6, so x is equal to negative 6 over 4. Excellent. So this is 8 divided by 4. X is equal to 2. And negative 6 divided by 4. X is equal to negative 3 halves. So our answer is that x is equal to, open up the curly braces, I start with my lowest number, negative 3 halves, comma 2, and that's it. Two numbers. X is either equal to negative 3 halves or x is equal to 2. All right. We'll let you soak that in a little bit. Okay, great. So now, let's see what happens when we solve the next one by completing the square. So 2 says that x squared minus 8x minus 20 is equal to 0. All right then, so we've got to complete the square. What does that mean? I know I did this just the other day, but let's kind of do a refresher. If I have something like a plus b squared, I know that's going to be a plus b times a plus b, right? And if I were to FOIL that, a times a is a squared, a times b is ab, b times a is also ab, because it's called the commutative property. AB is equal to BA, so B times A is B times A, which is also A times B, right? Plus B times B, which is B squared. And that gives us A squared plus 2AB, because we're combining those like terms, plus B squared. And that is the general pattern. That's called a special product formula, right? So that's a general pattern for A plus B squared. So what we're looking for over here, x squared minus 8x. So what we want is we want this to say something like x squared minus 8x plus some number, okay? And that's going to equal x, it looks like there's a minus in this case, minus some number squared, right? Well, we know that this is going to be the middle quantity, okay, because that's what happens with a quadratic equation. So it's going to be like 2ab. And in the case where this is minus there, this is a minus here, this is a minus here, and this becomes a minus here, right? So this is like minus 2ab. Well, we know that a is x, so b must be whatever negative 8 is divided by 2, right? Well, that's 4. So we want something that is x minus 4 squared. So this is going to end with a 16. So let me just say that this is the same as x squared minus 8x plus 16, and I'll keep the minus 20 there, is equal to 16. I got to put the 16 on the other side too. Otherwise, I am changing the equation, and I can't change the equation. So the 16 goes on both sides of the equal sign. Okay, so now I just do a little bit of algebra. I add 20 to both sides. Okay, and my next step is going to say x squared minus 8x plus 16 is equal to 36. Now, the whole reason I did this right here, okay, is because this is equal to this. So now I have x minus 4 squared equals 36. And I can go ahead and take the square root of both sides in order to get rid of this, right? So I'll end up with x minus 4 is equal to plus or minus whatever the square root of 36 is, which is 6. Well, that becomes two different equations. X minus 4 equals 6, and x minus 4 equals negative 6, the magical plus or minus. Okay, let's do our last step. Plus 4 on each side, plus 4 on each side, and I'm going to end up with x is equal to 10, and x is equal to negative 2. So my answer is x equals, curly braces, negative 2 comma 10. All right, now let's finish this up. Okay, I've got two complex numbers. These are operations with complex numbers. Number 3 says 4 plus 3i times 5i. And I know from middle school that I'm just going to use distributive power, distributive property. Well, 5i times 4, we can treat the I just like any other constant or variable. 5i times 4 is 20i, and 5i times 3i is 15i squared. Now, what we know is that I is equal to the square root of negative 1. Therefore, I squared is equal to the square root of negative 1 squared, which is negative 1. So, right now, I've got 15 times negative 1. So this is going to be 20i minus 15. And now, in order to put this into the standard form for a complex number, I always put my regular number, my real part of the number first, before I put my imaginary number. So my answer is going to be negative 15 plus 20i. Okay, great. Let me box that in. Okay, negative 15 plus 20i. Now let's look at the last thing. Number 4 says, what happens when I multiply 6 plus 5i times 2 minus 3i? Well, again, distribution. FOIL, firsts, and then outers, then inners, and then lasts. Okay? 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times negative 3i is negative 18i. 5i times 2 is plus 10i. And 5i times negative 3i is minus 15i squared, because I times I is I squared. These combine, my like terms, so I've got 12 minus 8i. And then it's going to be minus 15 times what? Negative 1. Correct. These are going to be multiplied. That's going to be positive 15. So I've got 15 plus 12 minus 8i, because I'm taking this positive 15 and I'm going to combine it with my like term. Okay? Negative 15 times negative 1 is positive 15. 15 plus 12 is 27 minus 8i. And I'm done.